Hello, everybody. Well, I think it's time that we talked about this subject and why. It's something God was working on with me for a long time, and I really know it was to be part of my ministry. And my hope was to go around to all the local churches in my area and present this program, but it never worked out for me that way. So it's really important that we talk about this, and I can prove to you that as wrong as Roe versus Wade is from the 70s, I can show you why it's outdated just in a clinical mindset, okay? And second of all, I want to tell you that there is healing, there is forgiveness. This was the hardest part of the trial that held me back, because I did not believe that I could be forgiven for that. But there is. Jesus paid for all sin, and to say that this sin is not covered is to say that the cross wasn't enough. And we can never say that. We can never say that. Ever, 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 ever. So with that said, we're going to dig in to the clinical aspect, and then we're going to go to the spiritual aspect, because I have to prove to you why what I'm saying is truth. And here's the thing. Many of us are older and beyond childbearing years, right? But here's the thing. We have a responsibility as the older sisters, the mothers, to educate the young, to bring up the young women and the young men. That's our job. And we need to explain to the youth. It all starts with the youth. Those are the people that are going to have these procedures. Those are the people that are going to be faced with this decision. And many of us made the wrong decision, and it almost destroyed us. So this is why it's so important that we fulfill our role in the body of Christ and educate the young and explain to them. So even if this doesn't apply to you, it can help someone else. It could save a life, everyone. It's important. So with that said, I just want to tell you that we have to give healing. We have to give information and truth to the youth. We have to, because it starts with them. It starts with them, everyone. And here's the thing. When I went to school and I started learning truth about biology, anatomy, physiology, this is what woke me up to the lies. Complete lies. This is why pro-choice advocates claim that they are right. It's all based on lies. And now that we have the technology that we do, it proves it, that it's all lies. And I can show you how blood hungry these people are, with an ulterior motive for why they want procedural abortions. I'm not going to go into the complete details of abortion. I'm just going to present to you the facts of life. And this is what took me to my knees, everyone. This is where I felt that there was no forgiveness for me, because I didn't understand the totality of the cross. But I'm going to tell you something. These pro-choice people, women's rights people, they're so deceived. They need our prayers, because they don't have a clue what they're doing. And they're ignorant. And their message is in ignorance. And here's the thing, everyone. Life is life. And these people don't understand life. They are walking death. They think it's all about a right. Well, where's women's rights in this? They don't care about the women that want to take their lives after this. They don't care about the women that are destroyed. They don't care about the women that die on that table, let alone the babies. And now we have women, supposed women and men, marching in the streets demanding abortion as a right to kill the babies. These people are bloodthirsty. They truly are. So, with that said, I'm going to tell you, one of the top things that pro-life people have advocated for is ultrasound prior to a woman having a procedure to terminate her pregnancy. And they have fought this hard, and they don't want it. You know why? Because it proves the truth. They're afraid if that woman's laying there and sees there is a life within her, a beating heart, she'll stop her decision to have an abortion. So, where is the pro-women's rights informed? Shouldn't we be informed before we make a decision like that to end a life within us? Yes, we should. But yet, they don't want this. They don't want it. So aren't they coercing someone to go into a decision, such an important decision, and coercing them to do it uninformed? Yes, they are. Yes, they are. Listen, it's been a long time since Roe versus Wade. And as wrong as it was then today, it's even more wrong now. Because we have technology that shows us. And there's no reason for the population to be ignorant. There's none. All you have to do is look it up yourself. Yet we're performing more and more abortions worldwide. Now, I can give you this information, and I do thank God that no matter what is going on in our capital, no matter what is running the government, no matter what, do I agree with prosecuting women who have abortions? No, I do not. Prosecute those that do the abortions. That's what I say. Because ignorance is part of the problem in the population. But believe me, these professionals know exactly what they're doing. And they are misleading women. They surely are. So I am thankful that no matter what is happening in our country with our leadership, I thank God that these people are stopping abortion, that they're standing up for life. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. See, this is proof. This is proof, everyone, that what is meant for evil will be used to the good. Do you understand? This is why things are so tricky in this day and age. But God's will prevail. And life is important to Him. It's very important to Him. But I can tell you, there will come a day when all the souls that are determined to be born are going to be fulfilled. They're going to be fulfilled. And the evil knows this. See, the evil knows this. This is why they do all their little experiments and cloning and genetic manipulation and all this stuff, because they know. But they still need hosts. But that's not what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about the actual procedure of abortion. And I'm not going to show you an abortion or anything gruesome. I'm going to talk to you about life and the truth of life. And I'm going to tell you the precious gift of life and how women every day are deciding to end that life on an uneducated, uninformed decision. And it's purposed. These people know exactly what they're doing. They know exactly what they're doing. So there's a reason for this. There's a reason they do this. So when we look at technology, we know how far it's come. Just look at your own computer. Look at the internet. Look at technology in our world as far as we see, cell phones, smartphones, all this stuff. Listen, so has medical technology advanced greatly. And they know what's in the womb and when it's there. And it's all done through ultrasound imaging. Okay? So, there's different types of ultrasound. Okay? And there's 2D, there's 3D, and now there is 4D. Okay? Now, of course, 2D is the most common. It's the least expensive. And it's, unless you know what you're looking at, it's kind of hard to see. But they eventually do the 3D. And 3D is pretty revealing. It gives a three-dimensional picture. It allows the physician to see the width, the height, the depth. And of course, it's very helpful when they can see what's wrong with the baby, or if the baby's healthy. But see, now we have 4D ultrasound. And it lets the doctor see the baby in real time, moving. It's continuous, it's updated, like a live action view. That is exactly what it is. It's live action. And they can do it in still photographs. They can create a video. I mean, we've all seen what these do. Even if you're way past childbearing age, you know someone young who's having this done. And they share it. Because it's their opportunity to see their baby before it's born. And it does create a bond and an early relationship between the mother and the child, and the father and the child. It sure does. And this is why they don't want them to see this. This is why. You understand? This is why. They don't want you to bond with this child that's in your womb, no matter what stage of progression it is in. So with that said, we're going to talk about, as technology has progressed, so has a contraceptive options, everyone. There's a lot more contraceptive options out there now than there was when I was a young woman. And not that I agree with all of them or think they're great. And we're not going to go down the Catholic path that contraception is forbidden, because, listen, we're not going into that debate today. We're going to talk about life and the stages of life. And there are so many options of birth control. And this is not promoting sin. I'm not promoting that whatsoever. I'm just stating clinical facts. I'm not talking about married women versus non-married women, extramarital sex, or marital relationships, or premarital. I'm not discussing that today. I'm just laying the facts out. If we got to address one issue at a time, everyone, and before we can stop the ignorance in our society of these people doing whatever they want to do and then having an unwanted pregnancy, we got to take it one step at a time. And we got to tackle one issue at a time. And this is the issue. The issue is ignorance. The issue is aborting the babies. Mologism. Putting your child through the fire. Okay? Period. Period. So we're not going to go off on that tangent today about, this is where Christians make their mistakes. We start judging, we start preaching, and we're not dealing with reality. And the reality is we got to get the public informed about the truth of abortion. And until you can get them informed about the truth of abortion and what is really what in life, you can't address the other issues about people doing things outside of marriage. Okay, we got a lot of problems in this society. So we have to take it one chunk at a time. One chunk at a time. If we can get women to understand fetal development, if we can get women to understand what that life is inside of them, we could stop a lot of things. So this is where we're starting, and this is where we're focusing today. We can't go off on a tangent about all sin, because we could be here forever. And man is going to sin. The world is going to sin. The only way we stop sinning is through Jesus Christ changing our hearts by the cross. And we still fall short. See, if you break one law, you've broken them all. You've broken them all. And do you know that if you've ever said anything against your brother or to your brother that has hindered their walk, you're a murderer? You're a murderer. See, Jesus did not do away with the law. You know what he did? Because, see, the law was given to us to show us our own sinful nature. But then we had one come who was the Son of God, who was God with us, Emmanuel, show us the way. And he actually upped the bar. Did you know that? Did you know that it's now a sin to lust? Just to look, this is the same thing as adultery? It sure is, in Jesus' eyes. And then if you have a brother who's trying to walk the walk and has fulfilling their plan that God has put upon their life, and you discourage them, or you say something to them, or you injure them to where they withdraw, you are a murderer, because you've stopped so many souls from hearing the truth. You've stopped a soul, even one, that could have heard that person's testimony, and you've murdered more than just your brother. You've murdered your potential brethren. Do you understand? So we can't go off on this higher than, holier than thou, mighty message. We have to deal in facts. We have to take one step at a time. This is what hurts the church. We try to throw the whole book at someone, and you can't do that. You've got to take steps. People are not going to understand the cross when you are not in reality with their reality, and help them to understand the error of their ways. This is so important, everyone. This is so important. So don't get me wrong. I am not promoting sin whatsoever. I'm telling you the truth about life, period. So with that said, contraception. There are many forms of contraception. And here's the big, big, big lie that these hateful pro-choice women's rights advocates, so-called, oh, you're going to make me have my rapist baby? I have never heard such absurd things in my life, okay? These are ignorant people. No one would force that upon anybody. But the Lord could talk to someone's heart and say, you know what? I'm going to turn this all around for you. Look, it's all about our personal relationship with him. But someone who's been unsaved, raped, which is not their fault that they're raped, okay? We can't control what another person does or does not do. I don't care if a woman's standing there naked. Doesn't give someone the right to do that to her. Okay? Because we can't judge situations. We don't know. We're ignorant. That's why we're not allowed to judge that. You understand? We're ignorant. We don't know the whole story. Hey, even in strip clubs, they don't allow the men to go in there and touch them and rape them. They know that's wrong. Right there in the pit of Satan's den. They know that's wrong. There's always been prostitutes. And there's more than just physical prostitutes. There's spiritual prostitutes. Which, you gotta look at things above the flesh. Things are wrong spiritually more so than they are physically. I mean, you want to look at our government. There's a bunch of prostitutes right there. When you sell your soul to be bought, that is the worst prostitute. And that's what the whore of Babylon is. Okay? So, we're not going to get holier than thou. We're going to be in reality. We're going to look at this from God's perspective. So, back to this, oh, you're going to make me have my rapist baby. I'm going to tell you something. There is something called Plan B. All right? Because I can tell you, when you are 4 weeks gestation, when you're 4 weeks pregnant, as far as like, there's 2 different measures of time in pregnancy. The first 14 days, you are not pregnant. You're not pregnant. It's a process. You're not pregnant. I know people don't understand that. But you're not pregnant. So, if you have an incident where you are raped, there is something called Plan B. And it's available over the counter, which was not available before. And this is even what rape crisis centers and hospitals give out. They treat for potential transmittance of disease, and they treat for prevention of a resulting pregnancy. And even if a woman does not want to involve the police or the hospital, she can go to the counter at the pharmacy, which is a heck of a lot cheaper than a surgical abortion. And she can take this medication, and she will start her period. So this is ridiculous when we hear that we have to continue in procedure surgical abortion. And this is basically what I'm talking about here. There's different types of abortion, but I'm talking about the procedure, the actual surgical procedure. Okay? Like I said, we're going to take baby steps here. We can't overload those that are trying to hear us, because surgical abortion is murder, period. And you cannot do a surgical abortion until that fetus is 6 weeks. And believe me, that is when that baby has a brain, a heart. It is a baby. Now, it may not look totally like a baby, but it does. So, this whole argument about making someone have their rapist baby is hogwash. It's the biggest bunch of piled up stinky BS I've ever heard. Which is another reason why surgical abortion is not supposed to be a birth control method, everyone. This is what I'm talking about. There are instances when a woman has to have that procedure to save her life. There are tubal pregnancies, and they will kill that woman if she doesn't have a procedure done. And it is life-saving, and it happens more than you know. So we're not talking about things that are for life-saving or medical. I'm talking about birth control. I'm talking about choosing and using surgical procedure after the first month of gestation at 6 weeks of pregnancy, because remember I told you the first 2 weeks, you're not pregnant. It is the process of what your body is doing. Okay? So, we're going to go through these stages, but I'm talking about using surgical abortion as a method of birth control. There's no need for it. None. It's outdated. There is no reason for it. And this is what I'm teaching you today. And I hope you carry this message forward. And I hope you inform others. Okay? Because we have to stop killing the babies. Now, if someone is raped, has an oops, or whatever, okay? I am not throwing judgment here. I'm just stating clinical facts. This medication is available over the counter. So there is no reason for them to use the argument that we have to keep surgical abortion as a contraceptive method because of rape. Okay? So we got that off the table, right? Now, we're going to tackle fetal development. Okay? So, what happens when there is fetal development? What happens from the time of conception? Let's really discuss this. Now, I'm going to use Mayo Clinic because they are very honest in their scientific information, and they are very clinical. They don't get in their information. They do not get into any kind of argument, nay or yay. And here's the thing. Do you realize that if a woman wants this child, it's considered a baby? Even in the clinical setting, they tell you, this is how your baby grows. Okay? But if that woman does not want that pregnancy, it's no longer considered or called a baby by Planned Parenthood, which goes against even the Mayo Clinic, who's giving you information that's available to the public and calls it a baby in the first trimester. Do you understand? Do you see? Do you see the double-mindedness? Just like what I've said before. You're driving down the road. You have an accident. It was clearly not intentional. Either the sun was in your eyes, you didn't see the light, you didn't see the stop sign, you hit a car, and there's a woman who's pregnant in there, and she dies, and so does the baby, and you're going to get charged with 2 counts of vehicular manslaughter. 2 counts. Why? Because that woman was pregnant and carrying a life within her. Okay? They want it both ways. Now, they'll have you believe that a woman has the right to decide whether or not it's a baby or it's a fetus, and that she should have the decision to decide whether or not this life develops within her or not. And that's not manslaughter, and that's not murder. But have you let you run a red light? I'm not talking about whether you're drunk or anything like that. I'm talking about just that's why they're called accidents. Well, see, we don't have accidents anymore. Somebody's always guilty. Now, if a man, let's take another scenario. If a man, which let's face facts, most women experience domestic violence while they're pregnant more than any other time. See, there's a spirit of hating babies. There's a spirit of killing babies in this world. And it's strong. Now, say this woman wanted the baby. He didn't. And it just enveloped a rage in him. And he beats this woman. And he kills the baby. That is going to be considered murder. But yet she could make the decision to lay down on the table, even if he wanted the baby. It's her decision. See, no, it doesn't work this way. It does not work this way. Because I'm going to explain to you. DNA. A child, baby, fetus, whatever you want to call it, within you has its own set of DNA. It is a combination of the mother and the father. It is just as much that father's as it is the mother's. But it's an entity of its own. It's a life of its own. It is separate from her DNA. It has its own DNA. It has the mother's mitochondrial DNA, but it is its own person. They don't want you to know that either. They want you to say, it's dependent upon her body to survive, and she has the right to say, well, you know what, after that baby's born, it needs care. Its life is dependent upon the mother or someone to step in and feed the baby, change the baby, clothe the baby, wash the baby. That's crazy. That's crazy to say that we get to decide who lives or dies because something's dependent upon us. Well, then we got to careful. See, this is how the Nazis went cuckoo. Because I'm going to tell you something about abortion. It's a socially acceptable Holocaust. And it puts what happened in Germany, Hitler's Germany, to shame. And you know what? Let's talk about that. Let's talk about Hitler's Germany. Because Hitler is who came up. His doctors, his gulag, is who came up with surgical abortion. Because see, they forced many Jewish women, if they were pregnant, if they was discovered they were pregnant, they were forced to have abortions. So let's call a spade a spade. Let's look at the facts where this all came from. Okay? Now, we've got the other argument. Well, if you outlaw abortion, then women are going to go off and have abortions in the alleys, and they're going to use coat hangers, and they'll go out there and protest with coat hangers and all this crazy stuff. Let me tell you something. There's never been a woman having an abortion in an alley. This is a lie. It's a myth. Okay? There are some mentally disturbed people in this world, and they do very strange things. You're not going to stop all that. You're not going to stop it. But we have to deal in facts here, not myths, not scare tactics, but truth. Truth. And I'm going to give you truth. So, this is where we are. This is where we're continuing this conversation. So let's get into fetal development, okay? All right. In week 1 and 2, this is very bizarre to some people, okay? You're not actually pregnant the first week. No. See, it takes 2 weeks, about 2 weeks for conception. All right? This is why they have to calculate a due date. And then they count 40 weeks from your last period, your last known period. So your period is counted as part of that pregnancy. So, in week 3, you have the fertilization. This is where the sperm travels up to the egg. They go together in the fallopian tube, and they form what is called a zygote. Now, you can have more than one zygote, which is what results in twin pregnancies, okay? Now, here's the thing. The DNA, the creation of the DNA happens first, okay? So, in the zygote, you have 46 chromosomes, 23 from the mother and 23 from the father. Now, this is going to determine the baby's sex, eye color, hair color, personality, and intelligence even to some degree, okay? Then it goes down the fallopian tube into the uterus. All right? And this is where it begins dividing cells. Okay? And it's called a morula. M-O-R-U-L-A. It isn't until the 4th week. All right? Now think about that. You're going to go from the time of your period. All right? So really, you're only 2 weeks pregnant here in the 4th week. Okay? So this is where they get you. They try to play with this in your mind. Because there's a difference between fetal and conception. All right? So just to make this clear, it takes 1 week from the time of the sperm to travel, unite with the egg, and then actually form a blastocyst. Okay? And this is when it embeds into the uterus. So we have to realize this is the time period of conception. Now, after it is a blastocyte, at 4 weeks, it is now officially an embryo. This is 4 weeks from the beginning of a woman's last menstrual period. It's when your next period would normally be due. And this is when most women come to the realization they might be pregnant. And it's about the size of a poppy seed. Okay? Now, at 5 weeks, it does look like a tadpole, more than it does a human being. But the growth rate is so rapid at this point, and the circulatory system is forming. A tiny heart starts to beat at this week, 5 weeks, right here. Believe me, they will not do a surgical abortion before the 6th week. Now we're going to go to the 6th week. The nose, the mouth, the ears are starting to take shape. The intestines and the brain are developing. Listen, to have a heartbeat at the 5th week, okay, it has to have a brain. No heart can beat without a brain to function that heart. It's also getting a spinal cord, because the brain is part of the spinal cord, everyone. It is part of it. It's not separate. And at the 6th week, it's the size of a lentil. Okay? Then we go into the 7th week, and it's doubled in size. Doubled in size. But it still has like a tail, and that will soon disappear. And then little hands and feet that look kind of like paddles will start developing from the arms and the legs. It's the size of a blueberry at this point. Size doesn't matter. Life does. Now, on the 8th week, it's starting to move. But you won't feel the movement. But it is moving in there. And it's starting to get nerve cells that branch out. And it forms primitive neural pathways. Breathing tubes are in the throat and developing the lungs. This is now a size of a kidney bean. In the 9th week, the basic physiology is then in place. Even has tiny little earlobes. Most women have not even had an abortion at this point, okay? But it's rapidly developing. The embryonic tail disappears at the 9th week, and the baby will just weigh a fraction of an ounce, but it's gaining weight very fast because it's gaining mass. And at this time, it's about the size of a grape. Now that's the 9th week. In the 10th week, the embryo, it's completing the most critical portion of development. The skin is translucent. You can see through it. You can even see that on preemies, okay? But the tiny limbs can bend and do fine details. Nails are starting to form. Okay, now it's the size of like a little kumquat. Then you have the 11th week. It's almost fully formed, everyone, at this 11th week, which is actually 9 weeks of development. Do you understand? The baby's kicking, stretching, hiccuping, because its diaphragm is developed. But you may not still feel any activity at that point. Now and it's the size of a fig at the 11th week here. Then you have the 12th week. Now, most abortions, for the most part, are performed by this 12th week. All right? Now the baby has reflexes. It has fingers. They open and close. The toes will curl. The mouth makes a sucking movement. He'll feel it even if you gently poke your tummy. But you may not feel the movements of the baby yet, which is called quickening. And now the baby's the size of a lime. Okay? This baby has feelings. You cannot tell me that an abortion does not affect pain development for that child, because it has a brain, it has a spinal cord, it has neural development. Our nerves are what allow us to feel pain, everyone. So that's the 12th week, the size of a lime. 13 weeks. This is the last week of the first trimester. Okay? This is what's being aborted, everyone. The baby has tiny fingers. It has fingerprints. The veins and the organs are clearly visible through the skin. And if it's a girl, it already contains ovaries with 2 million, more than 2 million eggs. It's a life within a life. This is 13 weeks, and it's about the size of a pea pod. And then you go into the second trimester. All right? And this is when miscarriage is much less likely to occur. Morning sickness, fatigue are passing away for most moms. So, we're not even past the first trimester yet. We just covered the first trimester. What a lie, everyone. What a lie. Lie upon lie. Look, I have debated these pro-choice people. And you know what? You know who the majority of them are? They're men. They're men. Because you know what? They work in science. They don't want to admit what they're doing. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what science does with these aborted fetuses. We all heard about the videos. We all heard about Veritas going after these people and revealing what they want and what they're doing, because it's a business. Planned Parenthood and procurement for biotech of these fetuses is a business, and it's a very lucrative one. And I'm going to dig into that with you too. But before I do, I'm going to talk to you about something. We're going to go back to what we just touched on about the law that pro-life has tried to put in force for women to see an ultrasound of the child in their womb prior to the procedure of an abortion. right at the procedure, right before it. This is what the law was for. This is what people have been advocating for. And as you can clearly see from what I just showed you in the first trimester, I can show you why and prove to you why. They don't want this. They don't want this. They don't want women to be able to see what is actually in their womb before they abort it. How evil is that, everyone? How evil. These people know the calculations, everything of what is going on in that womb. And they do not want women to know. They keep them ignorant and dumb and have them make decisions that once they learn the truth, they'll hate themselves even more. Many women suffer mental breakdowns. Many women go into deep, deep depression after an abortion. Many women will try to take their own lives. And if they stand up like I'm doing and stand up and tell the truth, do you know that those pro-choice women and men will turn on you and try to eat you for lunch because they can't stand it that you're exposing their lies? Because it's all lies, everyone. It's lies from the pit of hell. These people are sick. They have no regard for life, yet they're saying they're doing it to save a life. Oh, really? Oh, really? Well, I'm going to tell you something. They want fetal stem cells. They want fetal brains. They want fetal hearts. They want fetal livers. They want fetal kidneys. Why? Because they say they need the stem cells. Well, I'm going to bust open a big old lie right here, right now for you. Okay? Do you know the umbilical cord is so rich in stem cells? It is rich. It's a plethora of stem cells. But no, they don't want the stem cells. They want the organs, everyone, especially the liver. You know why? Because that is where the deepest, richest cells are. And they want them, and they create chimeras with them. They're putting these fetal stem cells into mice and other little animals and making chimeras. Do you know what a chimera is? Go look at astrology. Half horse, half man, all that kind of stuff. Look, it goes really deep, everyone. It goes really deep. And I am so passionate about this because we have not even looked at a second or third trimester abortion. And I'm going to tell you why that's a big lie. I am going to tell you. So listen, we are being given a platform right now. We're being given an ability to stand up and tell the truth. And I have not had to show you one aborted fetus. I have shown you what's in the womb. I have shown you the truth of the first trimester. They will not do a surgical abortion before the 6th week. You want to know why? Because the abortion may not work. Because if the embryo is so small, it may miss it. And it doesn't work. So they want it to be later and later and later. So can you just imagine what is going on after a first trimester abortion? And believe me, there are plenty of them. Plenty of them. Do you know that babies weighing 1 pound have survived? Did you know that? Fit in the palm of your hand, have survived being born. Yes, the lungs are not developed fully, but science has done miracles in preserving life. It's It's time for us to fight, everyone. It's time for us to stand up and tell the truth. Enough with these evil lies. Enough with this crazy insanity of these people who spread these lies, like you're going to force me to have my rapist's baby. These people open their mouths and they are a total sepulcher of evil and death. Sick people. And when I see all these hundreds of thousands of women marching, oh my Lord. Because Planned Parenthood was nothing but a genocide chop shop. And Margaret Sanger knew it. She was a Nazi sympathizer. She pushed this in the minorities. She had no regard for human life. She was an evil demon. You know, Planned Parenthood can still exist. Let them give women free medical care. Let them give them free obstetrical care. Let them give them free birth control. They don't have to go away. As a matter of fact, they would get funding if they'd stop doing the abortions. They could get federal funding. They could be part of the wonderful Obamacare, which is, thank God, getting taken out. But I don't know what they're replacing that with. People, we have to be able to stand up and say the truth. And if we're not educated, we can't debate these people. And most of the time, they're such loud mouths, they won't shut their mouth long enough. They're full of hate. They're full of vile venom and death. They hate God. They hate life. But then they'll say they're doing it all for the advancement of life and humanity. Biggest lie ever told.